20 fights so far, 19 victories, 12 by knockout and 1 draw on the record, but he's only stopped one of his last 5 opponents, so he badly needs a show of big hitting here. Now for Schulz, age 24, 16 fights, 15 victories and the 1 draw, only half of his wins by knockout though. He was a top amateur who fought a draw in his last fight, which was against Akinwande. Let's find out if we can get a definite result this time in the fight for the European heavyweight crown. Ian Dark, the commentator.
The scene is the Charlottenburg Sports Hall in Berlin. On the right of your picture, Axel Schulz of Germany. On the left, Henry Akinwande, the South Londoner representing Great Britain. They're fighting here for the European heavyweight title, vacated by the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis. A rematch this of a draw fought back in December when a lot of people thought that Akinwande had actually won the first time. Here he is again away from home and unmistakable. 6 feet 7 inches tall Akinwande with that long raking jab of his. The German Schulz though is unbeaten. He's won 15 and has just 1 draw on his record. And you can see straight away the massive reach disadvantage he has. He's got to get inside that long jab of Akinwande. This is the 21st fight of Akinwande's career, and he too unbeaten so far. Like Schulz, just the 1 draw on his record as a blemish. Good right hand from Akinwande, who started quite positively, using his jab to set up the following right and punching in combinations, and 3 times he's done that now in the space of about 20 seconds. Problems for Schulz. Fights generated plenty of interest in Berlin. As you can see from the pictures, not many spare seats in the house. Well, Akinwande, having succeeded 3 times with that tactic of straight left and then following right to the head, trying it again. He's almost octopus-like at times, Akinwande. Good accurate puncher with fast hands, but not perhaps the heaviest hitter around in the heavyweight division, Akinwande. It's been a good opening round this for Akinwande, and unless anything very dramatic happens in these final few seconds, and we're counting down now, he's going to have taken this, I'm pretty sure, on the judges' scorecards. Bell goes to end the first round, and you'd have really had to be watching from another planet to think that Schulz had any chance at all of winning that on the scorecards. Well, in that corner, they have to somehow work out a way of Schulz getting inside Akinwande's jab. There's Darky Smith on the left of your picture, working the Schulz corner. And over on the far side, Mickey Duff in action. He is the manager of Akinwande. This title held famously in the past by names like Henry Cooper, Jack Baldell, Joe Bugner, Richard Dunn, and in more recent years, John L. Gardner, Derek Williams and Lennox Lewis. Round 2. Black shorts of Akinwande, the British boxer, 27 years of age. Schulz 3 years younger at 24. Schultz's tactics seem to be to bulldoze his way in and maybe take a couple on the way in to try and land something heavier once he gets inside, but so far it's a tactic that hasn't been working too well for him. Akinwande is getting this right so far. Has to be the right way to box, just to poke out that jab, get in with combinations and then away again. Mickey Duff is calling from the corner to Akinwande, you're getting quiet. Schulz giving him the charge again, and every time that's happened so far, Akinwande has just tied him up in those long tentacles he calls arms. Akinwande, who was a 2 times ABA champion, and he reached the finals 4 times, a very good amateur, as indeed was Schulz, who won 78 out of 98 contests in his unpaid career, and was a European junior champion in 1986 and a European senior silver medalist. Now he's putting the pressure on Akinwande to some more effect. Akinwande just looking a shade disorganised on the ropes that time, just almost falling over his own feet. It's almost a bullfighter v matador type matchup this. 2 rounds gone. Akinwande on top. And I've given the first 2 rounds to Henry Akinwande in the black trunks, the South Londoner. Axel Schulz, the 24-year-old German heavyweight champion, with 1 or 2 problems to solve in there at the moment. So far in his career, Akinwande has been kept on a pretty tight rein by Mickey Duff. He certainly hasn't moved into world class, and some pretty serious questions would be asked about his ability. Should he be pushed up the ladder fairly quickly in his next few fights? It'll be interesting to see what Mickey Duff's plan would be. He is 27. They've got to do something with him quite soon, and the European Heavyweight Championship that he's fighting for here, a very, very useful stepping stone on the way, and it could be worth a top 10 world rating for him should he win here. He's made the right kind of start. Schulz having the occasional success with the countering right. Good right uppercut there on the counter from Akinwande. Well, the German is charging forward, but he's charging forward without too much science. And Akinwande is quite enjoying that ploy because he's picked him off a couple of times with some very neat-looking counters. Akinwande has to keep on poking out that jab to keep Schulz off balance. German crowd trying to get behind Schulz and trying to lift him. He's just hoping that the sheer pressure will in some way wear Akinwande down. Often the weakness with beanpole fighters like Akinwande is body punches. There's a lot of target there. Well, the crowd quite absorbed in this. Denny Mancini there on the far side, experienced cornerman, popular figure around the British fight scene. Now let's have a look at some of Akinwande's work in that round. There's Schulz getting forward, got through with a right hand that time, but only a glancing blow really. Akinwande fighting quite well on the retreat and poking out the jab and coming back with that long right hand. Not the most concussive hitter though, Akinwande. If he had that in his armoury as well, well, he might be some power on the world stage. Just occasionally looks a little bit open with the gloves down. A bit worried about that left eye of Schulz by the look of it. No cut there, but the first signs perhaps of a swelling. Fourth round, due to go 12 for the vacant European Heavyweight Championship. Akinwande may well feel that to get the decision here, he'll have to win it emphatically. Remember, he is fighting away from home. Shouldn't be the case, but the advantage often lies with the home fighter in a tight fight. Just again, Akinwande needing to get his gloves up a wee bit more as Schulz comes forward and looking to get lucky with one of those humdingers he's letting go. You do feel defensively that Akinwande is perhaps just a wee bit over-reliant on his reflexes, which are good at the moment, but it can be a problem when you get the wrong side of 30, which is only 3 years away in his case. And the reflexes start to go. In fact, they're one of the first things that start to go with a professional fighter. Good right uppercut that from Akinwande. Chants of Axel from the German fans, but I think even they sense that at the moment Akinwande is in the box seat. Inside the last minute of round 4. Germans haven't really had a lot to shout about in the heavyweight scene. Not since the days of Jürgen Blin and Karl Mildenberger back in the Henry Cooper, Muhammad Ali era. Once again, Schulz trying to put the pressure on, but not really getting through with anything too significant, except that left hook near the end there of the rally. He'd missed about 4 or 5 times, but he got through with one through sheer pressure. Round 5 for the European heavyweight title in Berlin. Britain's Henry Akinwande looking to lift the crown here, having drawn with Schulz in their previous encounter. I've got Akinwande in the lead by a couple of points here already, going into the 5th, though I think Schulz might have done enough with his pressure to maybe have just nicked that last round. And Mickey Duff telling Akinwande in the corner between the rounds, you can't afford to let him come back into the fight. Stay on top, keep working. Akinwande coming in for this fight at 16 stone, which is considerably heavier than I've used to seeing him. He used to weigh between 14 stone 12 and 15-10, so he's going up a bit. But of course he's a big, big gangling man. Clever on the counter from Akinwande. He's making Schulz miss a lot, and that can tire a fighter to keep throwing punches that just hit air. Well, he's getting it right again in this round so far, Akinwande. And you can hear Mickey Duff shouting from the corner, stick him, stick him, stick him. In other words, poke out that jab. Now Schulz gets through with a left hook. And Akinwande just wanting to hold on a little. Warning from the referee there about holding on the inside for the British boxer. Sometimes when Akinwande punches, they do look arm punches occasionally. And you do wish you'd get those gloves up a bit more. Because heavier punches than Schulz might make him pay for that when he's moved up in class. Good atmosphere in the Charlottenburg Sports Hall. Well, there they are in the Axel Schulz corner. Very hard work in there. He hasn't landed an awful lot cleanly. Schulz charging forward again, head down, almost like a bull, and letting go with the left. He got through with one, but it's really been the story of the fight in a way that, although he's come forward a lot, he's landed very little that you'd call flush, Axel Schulz. And for the most part, Akinwande's been outboxing him.
Trying the counters, which is good. Fold your right hand, cross it, turn your shoulder, left foot turn away.
Sixth round coming up then here. Schulz, the German heavyweight champion in the white trunks. Akinwande, the 6 feet 7 inch British boxer in black. After round 5, I had Akinwande 3 points ahead by 4 rounds to 1. Akinwande, who's been a professional since 1989 under Mickey Duff. One of his wins was a stoppage of J.B. Williamson, the former world light heavyweight champion, but it has to be said that Williamson, quite frankly, was a shot fighter by then. Big fight this in Akinwande's career. could be the gateway to bigger things for him. Again, just a token jab from Akinwande. And Schulz, you can almost see his mind ticking over in there. How do I get past that jab and inside to let go with those left hooks? Akinwande presenting the mobile target all the time and just poking out the jab to keep Schulz off balance. That's what he's got to do. And he's doing it at the moment to perfection. He doesn't want to stay on those ropes, though. Not for long. And for a moment there, Schulz was beating up the corner pad near the ring apron. Last 30 seconds of the 6th round. Same story, really. Akinwande continues to outbox the German. Schulz with just minor swellings around his eyes, nothing to worry about too much at the moment. This is the 7th round. The German in the white trunks. I think Schulz will be hoping that Akinwande just might run out of gas and that he can catch up with a more static target in the later rounds. But it could be something from the straw clutching department, that. We'll see. Now, that was better from the German. Akinwande just looking a bit open and taking that left. Good work off the ropes again by Akinwande, and as I've said before, his reflexes are good. You can see that he was a top-class amateur. But the pro game asks a lot more serious questions of a fighter. And one of them, of course, is about stamina. This is 9 rounds longer than any amateur contest. Schulz has been a pro since 1990, and so far he hasn't boxed outside Germany. Interestingly, he's promoted by Wilfred Sauerland, who's a business partner of Mickey Duff, of course, who manages Akinwande. Wheels within wheels. Have to say it, so far, frankly, this German looks a bit limited. He doesn't appear to have the tools thus far to trouble Akinwande. Neither the speed nor the variety, and I wonder about the power as well, really. Akinwande's been able to just box behind that left-hand lead of his quite comfortably for most of the night. He won that round as well, for my money. Coming up for the 8th round in the Charlottenburg Sports Hall, Henry Akinwande, despite being away from home, looks in charge in there at the moment against Axel Schulz, with whom he boxed a draw in their first encounter. And you can hear that Denny Mancini shouting from the corner to Akinwande, "Grit your teeth." Just got to keep him going, he's got to stay busy. And Schulz, that's where he wants Akinwande, trapped against the ropes. Once the fight gets at closer range, Schulz is in much bigger business, you feel. But he's very rarely been able to get within striking distance. Good clash of styles. Makes it absorbing. I think the referee there just a bit concerned about the coaching from the corner. There we are, you see, as they worked in close, Schulz did score with the right cross. To fight the kind of fight that Akinwande is fighting here, you have to be in tip-top condition, because he's covering a fair few yards in that ring. Mobile all the time. The jab and move tactics. Hit and run. Move in, get in with the punches, then out of range again. Tactically, he's been spot on here, Akinwande. Schulz just getting his gloves up a little bit better than he had been earlier in the fight, and blocking some of those jabs rather than fighting with his face quite as much. Well, the judges may be seeing an entirely different fight to the one I'm watching here, but I've got Akinwande in a big lead at the moment. And Akinwande there, lifting his gloves to the crowd, as if to say, I'm the governor in there, and you better agree with me. Well, I wonder if the judges do. They're from Finland, Denmark, and Luxembourg here. This is a typical episode from the fight. Schulz charging forward, but how many of those are landing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't think one of them did. Akinwande is awkward. He's tough to hit. Well, I'm sure you've got your German O level. You don't need me to translate, do you? Just as well, really. Coming up to the 9th. Now, British fight fans have just got to hope here that Akinwande doesn't lose it down the home stretch. So far here, he's put up a performance that he can be proud of. But he really can't afford to relax, and he's got to stay on the balls of his feet. Colleagues working at ringside. for German television. Akinwande is working to an almost constant commentary from the corner from Mickey Duff and Denny Mancini. And I would think really the gist of what they've been saying to him between the rounds has got to be just carry on doing what you're doing because it's working a treat. Again, it's just a cautionary word for Akinwande, but no point deduction so far and no knockdowns either. Mickey Duff certainly felt that Akinwande should have been put in with Herbie Hyde, the British heavyweight champion, and that would be quite an interesting fight. We might see that, I want, in the next year or so. Moves quite nicely for a big man, Akinwande. Only 5 years ago that he was boxing in the Seoul Olympic Games. Now then, Schulz looking to close the range once again, and Akinwande's tactics every time that happens is to just tie his man up, wrap him up in those long arms. Really is like fighting an octopus. And watch use of the head, a warning for the Germans. That last round was a wee bit more even. But Schulz never really able to hurt Akinwande so far. On the few occasions he has got through. The situation, as far as Schulz is concerned, is just beginning to get a little bit desperate. He does hold a win over the former IBF cruiserweight champion of the world, Ricky Parkey, which is the best name on his record so far, but like Akinwande, he hasn't been into world class as yet. They don't look overexcited about things. Well, you could hear Denny Mancini in the corner there. You're in front, but you've got to win the last 3 rounds to make certain, they're telling Akinwande. He says, you know what they're like here. Well, I don't think he only means in Berlin. I think he means anywhere you fight abroad. Don't rely on the judges doing you any favors, and it's really just common sense, quite honestly. Seen too many weird, eccentric decisions to take anything for granted. This is round 10. And if you've just been out to make a cup of tea or something, or having a conversation, Akinwande, let me remind you, is in the black trunks. Schulz has got to do something, and quick, quite frankly. That's where he wants to be fighting Akinwande. Schulz wants a brawl here. Akinwande wants to just keep on boxing. Just signs maybe in this round that Akinwande is slowing down a bit more. He is not presenting quite such a mobile target. And it would not be the smartest of ploys, you feel, for him to stand and trade with Schulz. And now he's back to the punch and move. And all the time he's doing that, he looks the boss. The reach advantage and the importance of it in this fight cannot be overstated. Now there's a bit of tape loose by Akinwande's glove. One or two anxious faces in the Schulz corner. Is the German heading for the first defeat of his professional career here? They've both won every fight they've had so far, except the draw they boxed with each other. Coming up to the 11th round, and I have Akinwande 6 points ahead at this point. So, by my reckoning, Schulz needs to stop Akinwande to win this fight. You may be sitting at home scoring it yourself. You may be seeing it a bit differently, but that's how it looks to this observer. Inside the last 6 minutes. And the prize here is a prestigious one, the European Heavyweight Championship, held by a string of famous names, and certainly a possible passport to bigger money and bigger fights. The time will have to come with Akinwande pretty soon when Mickey Duff does drop him in at the deep end. He needs to fight really some decent class Americans, you feel. He hasn't won this one yet though. And there is always the question of how the judges are seeing things. The referee Erkki Meronen of Finland will score here, along with the judges from Denmark and Luxembourg, which is a slight difference from world title contests where the referee is non-scoring. Akinwande just starting to coast a little bit. He appears to have switched off the engines over the last 4 minutes or so. He's tiring. That's understandable. I think Schulz was doing some talking in there to Akinwande, and the referee telling him to shut up. In what language he was talking, I wouldn't like to say, but maybe he learned plenty of English at school. Just getting a bit untidy in there at the moment. I think that really is a result of the tiredness more than anything else. The snap has gone out of Akinwande's work, but he still appears pretty comfortable. Akinwande taking a breather at the end of the round. So coming up then for the last round in Berlin for the European heavyweight title. And on my unofficial, very unofficial scorecard, Henry Akinwande has a very, very handy lead indeed, and Schulz needs to knock him out to win this. The German will come forward looking for the cliched grandstand finish. I'm sure that Akinwande's corner have told him to jab, move, stay busy, keep out of trouble. Real adrenaline rush stuff from the German. He's on home territory, and just listen to the German fans now trying to get behind their man. Akinwande knows that he's not fighting in South London now. He has fought away from home before. He did the first time against Schulz. And he's fought in France too. And all that amateur experience away from home comes in pretty handy too. Just keep cool and composed. Not do anything stupid. That's how Akinwande's got to play it now. Schulz hasn't really looked like hurting him so far. In the second half of the fight, Akinwande hasn't looked quite as good as he did in those first 6 rounds, or for most of them anyway. But I reckon he's done enough, easily enough, to take this title this time. Unless we're going to have some gross injustice from the judges. Schulz has been willing and courageous, and he's come forward a lot. But ask yourself the question, how often has he really managed to land very cleanly? Well, Schulz in this last round is working very, very hard indeed. He's trying everything he knows, but we're inside the last 10 seconds, and Akinwande looks safe now. There goes the bell to end it. Schulz raising his arms, which, to me, I must say, seems the height of optimism. If they give that to him, I will be absolutely astonished. And I've been astonished once or twice before, mind you. Akinwande fought a good fight there. Tactically, he got it right. There were moments when he looked a bit open and disorganized in defense. But he used the knowledge he gained from the first fight with Schulz. And for the most part, I thought he thoroughly outboxed this limited-looking German. There are the judges collating their scorecards, which have to be checked first before we get the decision. Anxious moments for Akinwande. Akinwande has it on a unanimous points decision, with which I must say I thoroughly concur. 1 or 2 boos from the crowd, but he was a clear winner. I have the scorecards in front of me: 117, 113, 116, 114, and 118, 113. Akinwande is the European heavyweight champion. Where does he go from here? Well, Mickey Duff is even making utterances about challenging Riddick Bowe for his versions of the world heavyweight title.